All right, I got the post-lunch, post-deep dive crowd. So I'm going to try to do my best to keep the energy up. I just want to first say thank you so much for hosting us here. What a beautiful space. This is a topic I'm really passionate about, so I just have a ton of gratitude for having the opportunity to share this with such an incredible and esteemed group. I'd like to just start with a moment of gratitude. Let's see if this works. Is this going to work? There we go. I do this before almost every team meeting, so just take a moment. Sometimes I say take your phone out, like text someone that you love or that you just want to say thank you to. So just take a moment. It's the one time the speaker's like, take your phone out. Awesome. So this doesn't look like much, but this room had a really meaningful place. So this is the DLN, and what I'm going to do in front of you all is I'm going to get a little vulnerable. And later in this talk, I'm going to maybe ask you to get a little vulnerable too. But this room was a really meaningful place for me. It was a mother's nursing room. At one point, it was an office. It no longer exists. We've kind of grown out of that space and had to rip that building down. But that little spot with the beautiful hand-painted tiles, September 9th, 2020, I stood there on a laptop talking to about 250 people by myself because it was COVID, so you were not together. And I had one of the most amazing moments of my career. And I got to share the news to my team at Fireclay that we had, after a crazy experience with COVID, we had had a founder divorce, that we had convinced some of our shareholders and investors to allow me to take our founder's ownership and redistribute it to our team. And we were able to take our employee ownership from about 14 to almost 40% of the company. And I was in this room, I finished the call, and I was elated. I was like, this is amazing. What an amazing moment. I was almost 10 years into my journey. And I also remembered at this moment, this is when I started to cry, that 3 years earlier, this was my bedroom. And in our darkest days in 2017, when we were scaling and we just couldn't keep up and everything was a mess and we had people issues and supply chain issues and production issues and issues with culture and alignment. Everything was so broken. My marriage was not doing great. My wife and I were getting help. We had 2 young kids. And I had to leave her and my family to go sleep here. I would roll out a thermarest and a sleeping bag, move the chair over, and I would sleep at the factory because it was in such a disarray. It didn't mean we were making a beautiful product. We just couldn't get it out on time, wasn't keeping up. And so it just wasn't lost on me that here I was 3 years later, sharing this amazing moment by myself in this room after having kind of come and overcome such adversity. So I just want to kind of share that story because it was really powerful. It talks about sustainability, it talks about some of the sacrifices that we leaders do and have to make sometimes for ourselves, for our family, and for our team. Because it's hard. It's hard what we do. This is me, 2001. I started my career just a few blocks that way. And I grew up in Washington, D.C. I'm Jewish. I went to a Quaker high school. I started my career in New York. Realized New York just wasn't the right place for me. Wanted to go west. And after getting an MBA, I met Paul, who was the founder of Fireclay. Paul started Fireclay in 1986, and I was really captivated by him. He was a maker. I thought he was a good guy. I thought he worked tirelessly for his team and for his clients. Our roots go back to the 1950s. His uncle had a company called Fireclay Tile, so there's a rich heritage here. But when I met him, Fireclay was having some challenges. So it's 2009. It was a tiny, tiny little business. I mean, under $2 million in revenue. There was no money. When I say there was no money, there was $5,000 in the bank, and we owed lenders $1.5 million. That was what I walked into. Our machinery was old and outdated. We had more colors than you knew what to do with. And heaven forbid you actually placed an order, because this was order management. This was scheduling. And we hoped that the piece of paper would not fall off the wall, because if it was, your order was lost. So there were some dark days, but we worked hard. And in 2012, I saw this photo, and this photo really changed everything for me. It was oh my God, our product is so beautiful when used in such a simple way. And it really kind of had this spark for me. We had gone from, $1.5 million in sales to maybe $2.5 million. My wife was like, you got one more year of this. You barely make any money. I was commuting an hour and a half each way. We just had our first kid. And I saw this photo and I was like, wow, there's so much more that's possible. And that's when we changed things. I had this moment where I woke up in the middle of the night and I said, you know what, the tile industry is broken. This idea of manufacturers making for distributors, putting in warehouses and hoping someone buys stuff, like that's broken. Like, let us just go direct. Designers and architects love working with us. We can do it different. And that set up this whole idea of like, we can be different. We can change the paradigm. And so today we have 2 factories in California. We are known for making beautiful artisan tile. We do ceramics. We have beautiful mosaics. We do exteriors. We do focus on this beautiful hand-painted tile. We even do glass tile. We're the only producer of glass tile domestically. And we do large-scale projects. If you flew in or out through LaGuardia, you'll see this, a custom 30,000 square foot mosaic. And so that's been our journey, and we've grown tremendously. We even install tile, which is something that I don't know of any other company that does this, but I think this is like craftsmanship at its core, and how can we have an impact on installation? So that's been a little bit of the journey as far as the business goes, but what's really kind of powered Fireclay has been this focus on social responsibility. And so going back in time a little bit again, 2011, I was sitting at a coffee shop. Again, remember the story. We're broke, we have no money, we're tiny. And I saw this ad that if you were a B-Corp, you could get 75% off your Salesforce licenses. And we used a lot of Salesforce. And I was like, great. I knew about B-Corp. I had met the founders of B-Corp in 2008, and I was very captivated. I loved companies like Patagonia and Method and Seventh Generation, these companies that were out there doing good. And so I filled out the application, scored myself an 81. Talk about that in a second. Sent it in. I was like, great, we're going to save this money. I'm going to be a B Corp. You know, we pay our people a little bit. We give them some benefits. You know, we make stuff in the United States. Like, that should qualify, right? Fail. Scored a 50. I had a phone call with them. They're like, I'm sorry, Eric. You are not as good as you thought you were. So not only is the business really small, not only is my wife not really happy with me, now I'm like, thought I was doing a good job, and I was told not even close. But I was motivated. And all of a sudden, I had this blueprint, not about like how to make money, not about how to grow the business, but how to be a good business. They don't actually teach you that in business school, it turns out. And so we worked hard. And 3 years later, in 2014, we did it. We scored an 80.5, which is basically like a C- passing. We had introduced a little bit of employee ownership. We had expanded benefits. We had introduced better pay, better governance. We continued on our journey. After we announced that big employee ownership, we scored a 115. We did a lot more with our community, did a lot more with pay and benefits, and just kept going. And this past year, we scored 127.7. Done a lot more on the environment, a lot more on training and development and transparency. So I kind of just take you through this journey because I didn't know how to get there. And it didn't all happen overnight. It was one of just grinding away day by day. So what is a B Corp? A B Corp is something that says this company meets high standards of social and environmental impact. Social and environmental impact. At its highest is basically an operating system. So some people think of it as like, oh, it's great for marketing, it's great for your brand. No, it's really an operating system. Outside of the P&L, outside of your ERP, manufacturing, outside of your project management software, whatever it is, this is your operating system on how to do good. You have to score an 80 on your B impact assessment. You have to meet standards across 5 pillars, be accountable to all stakeholders, not just owners, and you have to recertify every 3 years. So these are the impact pillars. So 1, workers. What are you doing for your team? How are you treating them? How are you paying them? I didn't know that like life insurance was something I should be offering. I didn't know that long-term disability was something I should be offering. Thank God I did, because 3 years later, we had an employee tragically lose his life, and we had another employee tragically get diagnosed with ALS. And we were there for them. Thank God. It's how you do your recognizing of what your impact is on the environment. There's so much that our industry does that impacts the environment. But for me, having a really clear blueprint around things like circularity, water recycling, carbon, material use, where you source, not only just like the requirements, but having a guideline on how to measure and how to handle it. Customers, Earlier today, they talked about, that gentleman talked about how most of us are focused on the high end, 20 million, people in the United States, not the low end, right? So maybe your organization does a little bit more for that. Maybe you're focused on low income housing or have an element around that, or part of your practice is dedicated to that. Community, giving back, volunteering, donations, and then governance, which I think is majorly important. Do you have outside advisors? Are you being audited? Do you have certifications? Or do you have a board of directors? If your board of directors bring in independent outsiders, who's holding you accountable? Who's holding us accountable? 2025, B-Lab has gone even further. They're introducing new standards around things like fair work, human rights, climate action. I mean, this is next level stuff, right? This is stuff that I wouldn't necessarily be thinking about, but I have an operating system and a guidepost on how to think about this and how to hold myself accountable to things that are important besides just, is it pretty? How much does it cost? When is it going to arrive? How much money am I making, right? It's really, really important stuff for us, the world, humanity. So Fireclay, I mentioned we got 127.7. There's a lot of things that we do. It's very comprehensive. These are just a few of them, but I want to kind of like dive deep into a couple that I think have been some of the harder decisions. And when I say hard decisions, these are decisions I think all of us in this room can embrace, not immediately, but over time. So one is ownership. I believe firmly in this. I think ownership is a really tricky subject. It involves money, ownership, value, who deserves what, right? It's tough stuff. It's tough stuff. But we do tough stuff all the time. The projects that you all build and work on are incredible. I'm pretty sure if you can go and design these incredible spaces and build these incredible buildings, you also could design interesting compensation programs for your team around ownership. Most people don't. Only 6% of organizations in the US think about it. Transparency, open book management, sharing basic stuff. I look at a lot of companies, I talk to a lot of owners. Most people in an organization have no idea how that organization is doing. Am I making money? Am I losing money? Are we doing well? Are we not doing well? People want to know, right? A lot of us probably played sports or took part in activities, competed in clubs, teams, whatever. Like, people want to know, am I winning? Am I losing? So being able to share, a lot of times I hear like, I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on. Benefits. I mean, this is where you can get really fun. There's so many benefits out there. It doesn't have to be everything overnight. But most people, minimum legal coverage. What do I have to do just to hire someone? So for us, again, it started with a little bit. And every year, just a little bit more. Some years, frankly, we've had to pull back. Some years we've had to take some things away. It went a little too much. That was a little expensive. Okay? But you can start. You can do more. Environment, we do things like certifications. We look at scope 1, 2, and 3 carbon. We offset, measure, we do EPDs, HPDs, basic things. But the reality is most people in my industry, most people in our industry don't. So these are things that you can ask for. These are things that you can do. On the giving side, I both love and hate when I find these websites of people who are like, they just got the logo. They got the logo. And it's like, what does that mean? Did you give like $100? Did you give 1,000? For me, it's all about clear consistency. If I do X, I give Y. So we've donated to this thing, pledge 1%. So 1% of our product every year we give away. I don't have to think about it. This is just what we commit to. So you can create these benchmarks. It doesn't have to break the bank. You can say, hey, it's going to be X% if I sell this, if I do this. Paid volunteer day. There's little things that we can do. Sourcing, we focus on domestic manufacturing, traceable materials. A lot of our industry, it's opaque. I walk into a lot of libraries, people have no idea where materials are coming from, who's made it, how it got done. It's pretty surprising. And the last one, installation. We're now trying to do this installation business. The services business that we all rely on. A lot of it's a cash business, very few benefits, not great treatment of people. So we're trying to take a different approach to that. But these are people that we rely on. Our projects don't happen without them. So there's great B-Corps out there. The Patagonia, Athletas, Warby Parker. And in the design industry, we got some others. Our peers, Heath Ceramics, Room and Board, Human Scale, Armadillo, Avocado. There's a growing number. I was actually just at our showroom and a designer from came in and said, I'm a B-Corp. And I was like, that's amazing. That's amazing. So there's a crew of designers and architecture firms that are B-Corps, which is incredible. There's so many certifications out there, it's probably like not lost on all of you. There's too many. I look at the B-Corp certification as that like most holistic one. And so in this spirit of industry and product and environment, B Corp really stands above at like a whole company level. And again, the whole point is that we don't have to live in this world of nonprofit is good and for-profit is bad. We can have good for-profit, and B Corp is a really amazing path to get there. So it's working. There's almost 10,000 B Corps around the world. When I got into this ecosystem, it was like 2,500. So it's working. There's over 1 million people employed by B Corps. And B Corps are companies that are just more likely to have environmental and social goals, hold leaders accountable for mission, publish impact reports, support supplier diversity programs, offer employee ownership. So these are not just companies that are woo-woo, this is cool. It's these companies are having success. These companies are having success. Okay, so I'm gonna, remember I shared a little bit, I talked about my wife, shared about how I slept at the factory. I wanna ask you all some questions. Okay? So, first question, I'm just gonna ask you, I'd like to know, raise your hand if you think your organization, whatever that is, if you think you're kind of above the fold, you're doing a better job than your peers. Raise your hand if you think you're doing a better job than your peers. In this category of social responsibility, sustainability, B Corp values, employees, governance, transparency, community. Okay? Raise your hand if you think you're I'm awesome. I see a few. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Any of you publish impact reports, sustainability reports, talk about this with your team right now? I see 1, 2. Okay. Last question, raise your hand if you're proud of your company's impact. Cool. Thank you. So there was an AI session this morning. I love AI. So I did this. I took all the members of the DLN, all of you who are in this room, every attendee, and all of your companies, and I created a little custom GPT that's my sustainability GPT. And I went out and have it created a scorecard across all these metrics. And I plugged every single one into that GPT, okay? So these are the results. For our official partners, average out of 80, you could score 80 was max. We kind of were right in the average. It ranged from 15 up to 77. Premier partners here got a little narrower, and platinum partners. But you kind of see where everyone, in terms of organizations here, kind of in the middle. So not bad. Definitely some room for people to go up. Not bad. If anyone wants the GPT, I'm happy to give it to you, okay? It's pretty simple. All you have to do is literally type in your company name and it spits out your score. It's amazing how fast it is. And here are the top 10 in the room, okay? So if you are one of these companies, please stand up. So if you were part of Cosentino, Hunter Douglas, Kohler, Taiping, Benjamin Moore, Sohn, Azek, Genesis, Armani, Ralph Lauren. Nice job. At least ChatGPT thinks so. But no, that's cool. Nice job. So is all this stuff right for your business? I mean, first off, I'm always happy to talk about this. Definitely, it takes leadership. Our customers, we're not necessarily asking for this. And when we talk to our customers, I will tell you, it is still mostly about, is it pretty? How much does it cost? When will I get it? Can I customize it? This is number 4, number 5. It's the bow that kind of makes it all perfect. But we're not here doing this because this has brought in tons of extra business. I do think it has massive value on culture and employees and many other things. But this is what I believe in. It's what my team believes in. And I think that's what I'm asking you all here today is to think about. It's that impact that you can have, the foundation you can set. So if you want to prioritize long-term value over short-term profits, you see business as a platform for impact, committed to transparency, you want to attract values-driven partners, this is totally for you. If on the other hand, you're pretty good with how you do it, you're I like how it is. Don't want to make a lot of trade-offs. Maybe you want to sell your company in the near term or something. Maybe it's not right for you. But things to kind of think about. What values do we want this business to embody? What legacy do we want to leave as shareholders? What are we doing that's already aligned with B-Corp principles? And what would it take to get serious? Build your own, your company name for good. So I think these are really important questions and considerations because frankly, it's going to come from you all. It's going to come from you all. So a couple things you can do. Anyone here taken the B impact assessment? Okay, so if any of you go home and you take the B impact assessment and you send me a note and you say, Eric, I did it, I will send you a bottle of wine. Nice bottle of good California wine. The assessment is free. Like 70, 80,000 businesses have done it. This is your operating platform. It is awesome. It is going to be very humbling, but it will give you guidance and perspective on things that you could think about. And again, you're not going to do it all at once, but you might do one thing. You might improve one bit of fit. You might publish one new number. And you might just start. So this is my family. These are my girls. It's my wife. I just think, I just want them to be, that work? Oh. I just want them to be super proud. It's not about, a certain amount of money or something like that. It's just like, my dad had impact, Fireclay had impact, and that's what matters to me. So in closing, I'll say thank you. Happy to take any questions. If you want to hit me up on LinkedIn, I like to hang out there. Otherwise, you can send me an email. If anyone wants advice or to talk about this, I love talking about this topic. It's a tough topic. I know even right now, just in the environment that we're in, it's hard to think about these things. But it's when leaders rise. It's when leaders rise. So we're all going to be here a lot longer. We got a lot of legs left in it. I can tell by the room. There's a ton of energy. You're all here trying to get better, trying to improve your business. That is awesome. That is awesome. So I just encourage you, take a step, and if I can be helpful, I would love to be. So yeah, thank you so much for the time. Thank you again for the opportunity. Yeah, happy to take any questions or comments.
I have a kind of maybe challenging one.
Great.
A lot of us in the room are interior designers.
Yeah.
Who run a services business, and yes, we sell product, but we don't manufacture the product.
Yeah.
What are a couple next steps we could take to improve in these ways?
Yeah, actually, most B Corps are services businesses. Frankly, because it's easier to become a B Corp as a services business. And so there's, as I said, there's a number of architecture and design firms out there that are certified B Corps. And again, I think that for a lot of us, and me too, like my whole thing, I came to this industry from the business side, not from the product side. And so for me, this was really that guidance on the business side of, oh, these are things I could be doing that I hadn't thought about. So I would just say, take the assessment, go through it. You'll learn quite a lot of things. And like I said, I think there's probably one or two things in there, and maybe you're super inspired. And if you want to be connected to some other interior designers that are B Corps, I would love to make that happen. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So if you don't manufacture domestically and you manufacture abroad, does everything that you do abroad have to fit within the how does that work when it's connected?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Patagonia, big B Corp, right? I mean, they make very little, if anything, in the United States. So, I think you're, auditing factories, holding factories accountable to certain, fair wage, fair labor, environmental standards. So, I mean, you're trying to kind of embrace certain other standards that would exist for those kinds of companies. Yeah. But there's certainly a lot of B Corps out there that do that. Yeah. I used to joke that it was easier for if a tile store had set up next to us and brought in product from abroad, they would have an easier time becoming a B Corp than me, because they would just have less. Just being a manufacturer, there's so much more that they can ask us and that we can be held accountable to. And so for a retailer, supply chain is a core part of it, but there's many other places that you could score points and have impact. So I will never say it's a perfect system, but I think they do an amazing job at trying to demonstrate a platform and a way for companies to kind of have that aspect of good. Yeah.
So I'm not really like exactly sure how to formulate this question, but I'm
Yeah.
just gonna go.
You're gonna
for
do
it.
great.
Thank you. Speaking from a spiritual level, like from a not talk about religion, but you know, like just reflecting on what it means to be good and to bring goodness to society and to give back, and also the way you ended the presentation saying that you want your family to be proud of you. That's so beautiful. So I think the benefits from being part of this is not only, you know, making good to the society and to the community of the company, but also to your life. I'm not making it just for that, of course, but it's like the more you do good into the world, the more also you receive. And I don't know if you, my question is, do you think that? Can you like, are you like, can you testify that that is what happens?
Yeah, that's a great comment, and thank you for sharing that. I mean, I would like to think that I'm spiritual in the sense that I want to have impact in this world. And one of the things that my graduate school challenged us to was to change lives, change organizations, change the world. And so I find myself in a position where I have an opportunity to have impact in an outsized way. What I tell my team, though, is it's not like we actually just have to work harder. You know, we have to do more. We have to hold ourselves to a higher level of standards and accountability. But I do think, to answer your question, yeah, like I love that we have a different perspective. I love that there's a mission beyond just, you know, would you buy my product or would you specify my product? That feels wonderful. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you.